Hello, everybody. We are back with The High Ground, here brought to you here by Silent Podcasts. I'm getting back in the swing of things. It's been a minute. I am your host, Katie. I am here with my co-host, Naomi. We are an Andor recap podcast, and we are here to bring you our thoughts on the final 3 episodes of Andor. Naomi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I am fully back on board with Star Wars as a franchise, as a concept, as a hey, this is a thing I like and I don't care if you don't. And I'm thrilled that we can reach this conclusion of Andor and feel like we actually have something not only to look forward to, but something to look back on as a great season of Star Wars television.
Yeah, a great season of TV in general. Like, I'm just ready to end friendships over this thing. Like, if you think this show is bad, I don't want to be associated with you. That's kind of how I'm feeling. That's how passionately I feel about this show.
I completely agree. Like, don't talk shit about this show to me. I don't want to hear it. Um, in particular, I find that. So I was talking to my little brother because I watched this when I went home for Thanksgiving, and he was saying like, "Oh, it was kind of an unsatisfying end," and I was like, "But that's the point. Like, this shit's not
Yeah.
gonna go well. Like, this is the
No.
rebellion."
We know how it ends, right? I mean, like, Rogue
Yeah.
One is the end. We know. It's just like the ride that we're taking to get there. I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
so surprised that we were able to get a show like this that actually made us. I don't know about you. When this show was announced, I was kind of like, I mean, I'll watch it, but I don't know if I care that much about it
Right.
because it's Cassian Andor. Like, we already know what's going to happen. I don't know if I need a prequel show about this. And it's truly far and away the best Star Wars media that we've had ever? Question mark?
It's a hot
Question
take.
mark?
I don't know if I agree with it quite yet, but I do think it is up there. For me, my opinion is simply that like this is a show that actually understood what Star Wars is about,
Mm-hmm.
understood that uh, being in a rebellion is not all about like fighting and finding out you're the chosen one and
Yep.
rescuing princesses, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I thought, to your point, it's like all of the Rebellion series outside of Star Wars Rebels, what that we've seen, I think, has been just like, oh, the Rebels are getting lucky. There's one weak point. There's just like this one thing, and they found the chosen one.
Yeah, the
This
Death
is showing the
Star
nitty
exhaust port
gritty.
of it all. Yeah,
Yeah, like how we got there. Like, that's not all that it takes to be in a rebellion. Like, there's consequences. It's messy. It's dirty. A lot of people's lives are going to be lost. There's sacrifices that have to be made, as we hear Luthen talk about very often. It's really showing us kind of like it's pulling the curtain back a little bit on the fantasy of it all, and really showing what it looks like on the ground for people who are really starting at least their faction of the rebellion. Right? There's obviously different sects. We have Saw. We have Luthen. We had, we have the rebels from Star Wars Rebels. It's all different cells, right? But eventually, the idea is that they'll all come together.
you know what I'm kind of thinking about right now that I have just realized now that we're done with this season. Not a lot of romantic storylines in this show, huh?
No,
Not a lot of
not yet.
love,
We
not
might
yet.
get some.
But I was so pleasantly surprised that, there was no real, like, Bix didn't become a character where we
Mm-hmm.
lost her to being the woman who supports a man. We were only romantically, she did support him as her friend, which
Right.
and he was her friend, and we love
Yeah.
that. We love friendship. But we didn't sort of lose anybody to like a strictly romantic role, or we didn't see. Actually, we did have a little bit of romance, but then the rebellion came first, and I love that. I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
Bell and Cinta. Uh, so, in the grand scheme of things, right? To me, this Star Wars show is incredibly successful at creating an environment where you feel like they could lose, and
Yep.
that's the key actually to the rebellion. It's not necessarily that you have the heroes you believe in, but that you really feel like if they lose, it's all like they're totally fucked, and like they'll never be able to fight this fight again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's almost incredible that they can make us feel that way about characters where we already know what, at least for some of them, what their fate is going to be, right? Like I felt tension for Cassian the whole time in the Prison Break episode. I felt it for him the whole time in the finale. I felt it for him even in the episode in between where like those fish guys captured him in that like slimy net. I was like, oh my God, like, is he going to get brought back to the Empire? Like, what's going to happen
The
here?
fish guy.
And it's like, well, we know he's eventually going to be okay and join the rebellion and then, you know, die on Scarif with Jyn Erso. But as the planet explodes around them. But
Kablooey.
yeah, but it's like, I don't know. The fact that we can be so invested in the road to that is really just a testament to how great this show is.
Now, we're talking about all 3 episodes right now, and I just want to like quickly touch on, because we talked about it when we first started podcasting.
Yeah.
We did get to go back to Ferrex, which was great.
We did.
I loved the going back to Ferrex, and that the scenes in the end really happened there. But I feel like this sister storyline, people have been griping about it online, and I can understand it as a jumping off point, but it really felt like it was much more important than it ended up being. And I'm wondering, Katie, how you feel about the sister storyline, knowing that this is where we've ended.
Yeah, I've seen some discourse about this as well. I have to assume that it's going to come back in season 2, because it would be strange to me if we open the show with Cassian looking for his sister and then we find out, or like we just never hear about it again, or if they use it as like a mechanism to just flash back and show us Marva white knighting and kidnapping Cassian. And then like it kind of just erases the rest of his backstory. I would not be happy with that. I've been in a lot of online discourse or read a lot of online discourse about even just the Marva storyline and her taking him and, you know, kind of like erasing his background and whitewashing him a little bit and bringing him to Ferrex and making him forget, you know, where he came from. And it's interesting. I think it's a good conversation to have, just generally. And I think the sister is part of that. Like if we never hear about her again, it kind of just like even more builds into this like, oh no, he really like had to just wash away his entire childhood because this weird white lady came and took him. And like I've seen a lot of threads on Twitter. I've read a lot about people being like, I'm not sympathetic to Marva. I am somewhat sympathetic to Marva. I think her intentions were good. I don't think that she meant to cause harm to Cassian. I don't think that she probably thought he would die and didn't realize he had family there and thought she was saving him. Like that's, but I think, you know, obviously that's just a problematic trope in life, right? Yeah. And I think if we never hear about the sister again, then it's going to just like feed more into that.
Yeah, that's the tragic story, the tragic nature of it. However, you kind of hit the nail on the head that like it is something that Marva did that is, you know, not great, not really something that you would want to experience as a person like Andor, right? You've lost your sister, and what I feel like was missing is that little moment of Andor talking to Marva and saying, like, you know, I had a sister, like, we left her behind. Like, one little scene, because Marva has been a very fun, complex character. She's been a very interesting rebel. She's been an interesting, like, in her death, sparking more of this uprising. And I wish that instead of just seeing her be kind of old and frail and then die, we got to see her you know, have to grapple with something that's very hard to grapple with towards the end of your life, which is like, I thought I did something good, and then it turns out that it was not good, and that maybe I should have not done it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could have been, I don't want to say it could have been like a teachable moment for her, but maybe obviously because she's dying. But I think at least just like a moment of realization of like, yeah, Cassian did have a culture and he had a people there and he had people he was connected to and a family and a life. And it's not even that like she took him and then I guess taught him English. But it also feels like she took him and then made him like pretend that he never was from, what is the name of that planet again? Kenari.
Kenari. I almost said Kenobi and then I was like, wait, hang on.
Yeah. It's almost like she, you know, she made him say like, oh, no one can know you were from Kenari, which is also like, why can't anybody know like what happened there that no one can know? So that's why I'm hoping maybe they dig into that a little bit more in season 2. In season 1, to me, just like the character of Cassian almost felt like a vehicle for us to see what was going on around the galaxy. Not everything was from his perspective. Like the Mon Mothma stuff wasn't from his perspective. A lot of the Luthen stuff wasn't. But he felt like just a very quiet, observant character. And it almost
Yeah,
felt like a lot of what was happening is like things that we observed through him. So
I
hopefully we get
agree.
more like depth to him next season.
Yeah, especially because he really becomes so cold-hearted by Rogue One. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm really looking to see that like the cold-hearted nature come out. And we've definitely got the scenes where, there's like Skeen who tries to get him to
Mm-hmm.
betray and so he can kill him. And we've got this sort of heartbreaking stuff in the prison, which we will definitely get to this
Yeah.
episode. Um, it's interesting to see his journey, but I'm waiting for like the real, like the heaviest shoe to drop to really make him into like a real fuck you, I don't care about anything.
Yeah. And I think we're going to get there, right? It seems like in the finale, he makes a decision. And I don't know if he was planning on making that decision prior to everything that happened on Ferrix at Marva's funeral, but he makes a decision with Luthen essentially to join him in the fight. And we see probably like one of the only genuine smile. I think we see a smile from Luthen after Aldani goes off without a hitch,
Yeah.
and then a smile from Luthen at the end of this episode. But like from there, I don't know that we get anything like fully genuine from him. So it seems like, but it feels like there's still a jump until we
Yeah.
get to the Cassian that exists in Rogue One.
So, should we start with episode 10, The Prison
Yeah,
Break?
let's start. This episode, I feel like, where do we even begin? Where do we even begin? I don't know. This episode really felt like a turning point to me in the show. And it was just like from start to finish, it was an incredible adrenaline rush and just
Yeah.
a beautiful episode of television.
I found that while I was watching this, even though you know that they're going to break out, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know that this has to happen in order for Cassian Andor to get to where he needs to go. That at no point was I sitting there thinking like I'm bored. I know where
Oh
this is
yeah,
going. They have not made this interesting to me in any way. I love that Cassian is super involved now. To me, one of the biggest themes of the season is that he has gone from somebody who is on the outskirts of rebellion. He's not planning it. He's not really helping until he absolutely needs to. And even then, he's just for the money, right?
mm-hmm.
With Aldani. Rather, now he is somebody who is chipping away secretly at the bathroom, like water source. He
Yep,
is making sure that people are ready to rebel. He is pressing his leaders to fight back, and I really love that. I love the whole storyline, and uh, let's kind of not to jump too far ahead, but I have a
yeah,
question, which is we find out in the post credits scene that
yep,
these devices they're making are for the Death Star. How do
yep.
you feel about that, Katie, knowing that not only was he building the Death Star, but he's building essentially what will kill him?
That's true. And the reason that it will kill him is because he's trying to. Not only does it blow up the planet that he's on, but he's he dies in the effort to get the plans to take this thing down. So it's like he's there from the inception of it, and
Yeah.
then he's part of the end of it. Well, at least the first one, because he will have many more planet-killing weapons in Star
The
Wars.
dead speak and the Death Star's back.
Yeah, the Death Star. Hey, it's back. Guess what? Yeah, I didn't really think about it full circle that way, and I think that's really interesting. And I was so happy to see the end credit scene because I felt like the finale was so beautifully done and that the score in the credits was so beautiful that I just let it run. I just let it play. It wasn't like I knew there was an after credit scene, so I just got surprised by it at the end and I was like, "Oh my god." Like, and I love that Tony Gilroy has been asked so many times and there were so many theories about what is it that they're building that he gave us the answer and he knew that the answer was there the whole time for us and it's just like kind of hidden in this little Easter egg. So I'm really glad that they showed us what it was for. I think that was probably my assumption, either that or like a TIE fighter or just some other kind of like weapon or ship or something. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think you kind of had to assume it was for something like that.
Yeah, and I'll take
But
it, right? I'll
yeah,
take the
I'm happy
obvious
with that. Yeah.
thematic. Like, sure, that's fucked up. Like, and we know that it was something that the Empire was dedicating like so much resource
Yep.
to. So why wouldn't it be the thing that is set out to kill everybody. Like, sure.
Yeah. There was a theory out there that they were just building things on one floor or one area of the prison, and then another area of the prison would just take them apart and then like bring them back. And he spoke out about that and was like, "No, we're definitely not that sinister, or like the Empire's sinister, but that just wouldn't make any sense." And I am so glad it was not that. I know that was like a
Yeah,
pretty somewhat popular fan theory. I'm very happy that that's not the direction that they went.
I saw that theory too, and I kind of thought, I was like, but why would you have them do nothing when they could be doing something, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, why waste all of that labor and time?
Yeah, and and also story material, right? Like
Hmm.
that's literally such a good opportunity for story. Why would you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was devastated to see that because I also did not realize there was a post credit sequence. Then my boyfriend texted me and was like, "So did you watch the end?" And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Then I went back and I was like, "No!"
Yeah.
Like really quite disturbed by not disturbed by it, but like I was so I guess I was shook, Katie. I was
Yeah.
shook.
I was just surprised to see an after credit scene in general. I didn't expect it. So I was
No, I
excited to
didn't
see it.
either. That's why I turned it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, shall we shall we talk about the prison break? I guess.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, I part of what I love so much about this episode is that Kino had been such a leader in the prison, and then this one, or at least on their floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this one shift just like pushed Cassian into that leadership position. I think it's at the beginning of the episode where they're waiting, and Cassian kind of flips the script on Kino and is like, "This is what we're doing," and then he's like, "On program," and it just like thrusts him into this leadership position, and Kino just listens to him and goes for it. And I just love that juxtaposition between the two of them. And I love their partnership throughout this whole thing. And I love how what we end up finding out at the end is that Kino knows he's not going to be able to get off the ship. And he essentially says something like, "I'd rather die trying to take them down than give them what they want," basically,
Mm-hmm.
like he just was assuming that he was going to die the whole time. Then we come to find out at the end of the episode that Kino can't swim. And this was so emotional for me because I loved Kino was incredible, an incredible character. And yeah, what did you think? What did you think when he uttered those honestly heartbreaking words?
I got so sad. Andy Serkis is so good at this
Oh,
show. I
incredible.
was like devastated. I mean, I've read a lot of great stuff about like how Andor is not only a person who is part of the rebellion, but he incites others to believe in it as well,
Hmm.
right? That's what he's done to Kino. But at the same time, I think what Kino has learned from Cassian is what he kind of talked about on Aldani, which was like, like if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But like,
Right.
I'm not going in if you kind of want to do it.
Yep.
Like you have to be committed to what you're doing, and I think he brought that attitude to Narkina 5, and then was the driving force of like, I'm doing this and you can get behind me because we have nowhere else to go. Really
Hmm.
was such a group of desperate people, understandably so. I'm still kind of sad that there were no aliens in the prison, but whatever.
Yeah. What
Could
are
have
your
had
thoughts on
one.
that? Do you think they were like segregate? Because we know that the Empire is, I guess, what is the word that I guess we could say racist, right? There are different races of people and beings against aliens, right? Do we think that they're segregated into another prison? Like where? Because we got some aliens in the later few episodes. In episode 11 we saw some. In episode 12 we
Right.
saw some. So they're there, and I think that was like a pretty big criticism of the show is that it was too focused on humans. Do you think that was intentional? That and maybe it was just like a segregated prison of just human men.
I feel like the one thing that I could believe is basically Tony Gilroy saying like, yeah, they're all in different prisons, but also like there have been so many pieces of Star Wars programming lately that have like absurd amounts of aliens,
Yeah.
and I was hoping to take it down a notch or whatever he wanted
Hmm.
to do, and that I could understand, but I still kind of like that's the magic of Star Wars, right? Is that there are aliens kind of running around, and I do wish we
Yeah.
had a little bit more of that. That would have been just a little, like a little sprinkle of aliens running around. Not too much, because I do agree that like sometimes it gets a little goofy on
Yeah.
Mandalorian.
Totally. Totally agree. And even at some points in Obi-Wan, I feel like on some of the planets that we saw, especially in the beginning when
Yeah,
Leia first got I don't know, not kidnapped, but she ran away from him or whatever. There were a lot of aliens on that planet that were like kind of goofy, not super goofy, but kind of goofy. So throughout the prison break, basically what the plan is that Cassian is breaking this pipe in the bathroom on their level and shorting out the floor, essentially. So he ends up doing that and cutting power to the elevator that's bringing down the new prisoner to their floor to replace the prisoner who died, whose name I don't remember on
the old guy.
Yes,
whose name
the
I
old
also don't
Olaf.
remember.
Olaf,
Sure,
perhaps, maybe.
it's something with a U.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace to him.
Sorry, he was only around for one
sorry.
episode. We can't be expected to remember all of their names.
I know, it's true. So they find out, I think in the episode prior, that the elevator floor is not electrified, so they're able to do this and get away with it. And basically they just take the whole like garrison of guards by surprise and climb up, steal their blasters. People are getting shot. That is happening. So we do lose a lot of folks in Narkina 5. But they break into their weapons cache and just kind of take the place and then break everyone out of every other floor and storm their way out. And it's incredible. They make their way up to, I guess it's like the control center, and Kino takes over and they hold those guys hostage, and it's pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, I really love the scene in the control center. I think that was one of the best scenes of the series.
Me too.
You know, and I also think what's kind of fun about Cassian Andor is that he's not a Harry Potter or a Luke Skywalker who's like, I'll give the speech, I'll rouse everybody for the rebellion, I'll make this happen. Instead, he's sort of pushing Kino, like, you give the speech, you tell everybody what's going on. And I like that he's not somebody who, he doesn't want to be front and center. He really does not. He does not want to be the face of the rebellion in any sort of way. But what he does want is for everybody to get the freedom that they deserve. And so he pushes people to speak out and be their own leader in some ways, which I like. Good for him. He's a good friend. He's getting everybody motivated.
It's true. It's like he sees what's going on and wants to do something against it, but he doesn't need to be in the spotlight. He just wants the right thing to be done. And he knows in this moment, like, it has to come from Kino. Like, it has to be you on the speaker. Like, it has to be you. And he says it, and we get, one way out is such like an incredible, like, they're chanting. We end up seeing the guards like cowering behind doors as they're running out. Like,
great.
I mean, it just keeps going back to earlier on in the season when Luthen asks Cassian how he stole that like Imperial part. And he's like, they're just so fat and happy. Like the arrogance, they don't think that anyone would ever, come to their turf and like take something from them. And they don't, he's been saying it the whole time. They don't care about us. They're not listening to us. They're not listening. No one cares. No one is listening. Yeah. No one is listening. And he was right. I mean, their arrogance is so high. They feel like they're in such a position of power. These menial people who are imprisoned by them, like, nothing could ever go wrong. They can never do anything. We have them here forever. No one even knows they're here. What's going to happen? And they continuously, the Empire underestimates their enemy.
Absolutely. I also really like Seth's comment that he's left, which is, I was a little surprised they didn't try to steal the boots. Me too. Seth, I was screaming at the screen. I was like, go put those boots on. But maybe they don't. Maybe those boots would like sink you if you got.
Well, I was just going to say, probably not the best to swim with.
Probably not. But maybe to kick a guard's face in.
What do you so we find out at the platform Kino can't swim. What do you think happens here? Do you think he stays behind? Do you think he jumps in anyway and someone helps him? Tony Gilroy has been very coy with saying if Kino is alive or dead. He has not confirmed one way or another. So to me, that means he could show up at some point eventually, hopefully in a more beneficial position and not like just taken as a, by the Empire as like the mastermind of this and given a lesson to. But what do you think is going to happen with him? And were you as heartbroken as me? Like, I was
devastated. I was devastated because that was like because they got to the top and I was like, how the fuck are they going to get out? Like, oh my God, they're screwed. And then I realized that, they were going to have to swim it. I cannot believe anybody survived that swim.
Me
that
neither.
was like a crazy kind of shot. But when it happened, my assumption was that he was also going to get pushed in and that.
Me too. And I feel like that might have happened.
Yeah,
given
and
how
then
many people were pushing and shoving to get out.
the other part of it is that I feel like because there's so many people, like some people don't know who he is, right? So then they're not incentivized to help him because he wasn't their leader or anything like that.
Right.
So, but I appreciate Tony Gilroy being coy. I think that if you don't know if a character dies for certain, don't give it away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's let's not find out until we absolutely have to, or if it if it's meaningful. Either way, I still think it's impactful and it's still a meaningful situation that occurs in the episode, whether or not he actually is dead. What I also really like that we get out of this episode is we get more relationship with Melshi,
Mm-hmm.
which is a character that appears in Rogue One,
Yep.
which I totally forgot about.
Me
I gotta
too.
go watch Rogue One. And then, I gotta go watch Rogue One.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that it's almost got this "Oh brother, where art thou" vibe of like we're escaping, we're the Shawshank Redemption of it all. We're getting out, and now we have to work together because we're the only two people who went through this together.
Mm-hmm.
They're trauma
Yep.
bonded.
Yeah, totally. And I love that they stick together so far into episode 11. I think yeah, I hope we see him again in season 2. Obviously they part in episode 11, but they come back together at some point, so I would love to see how they meet up with each other again. Hopefully Kino somehow makes it out alive as well. But I part of me was like, just jump in, dude. Someone's going to help you. Like, they're not going to let you drown. Like, and it's not like just doggy paddle. Someone will teach you and will get you where you need to go, Like, I don't know. But I thought it was super impactful with how many different times we've been told throughout the season that sacrifices have to be made. And, even with Krieger, we have to sacrifice 30 men and Krieger for the good of the, yeah. And it's like, yeah, because we have this guy in the ISB and this will tip off people if they know. And for Kino, it's like, yeah, I sacrificed myself. I knew I was going to die, but like we couldn't continue on this way and we had to get out. And it's just like continuously people making, same on Ferrex. It's like people sacrificed to kind of have an uprising there towards the end. And it's like, you kind of have to make some sacrifices to move forward in a lot of these ways. And I think no one was more of a proponent of that than Luthen, but I think we saw it in a lot of little ways as well throughout the series.
Yeah, so it's not this episode, it's the next episode, right? Where we get the informant, or is it this
I
episode?
think it's the end of this episode because I thought when I was watching, when the end of the prison break happened, I was like, wow, like what a powerful moment. And I was like, just like jaw dropped on the floor, like super upset about Kino. And then we moved into the ISB informant meeting Luthen, and we got that incredible speech from Luthen on the bridge, looking like just in his evil Sith robe, just spitting facts at this ISB dude. And it was just like, that was also such a powerful way to end the episode, but just like in a such a different, like a badass, cold, but like set on the mission way that it almost like
Yeah.
took away from a little bit the Kino moment. But in hindsight, I'm glad they didn't end on it.
Well, I think that what this season has succeeded in showing is that you can be a part of a happy-go-lucky rebellion that wants to destroy your government, but there are also very serious people who are very seriously dedicated to the cause. They're
Yeah.
dedicated to the cause of destroying the empire, and destroying the empire comes with many, many sacrifices. And maybe Luthen was like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at one point in his life,
Mm-hmm.
but now he knows better, and everybody is sort of a chess piece to him in a lot of ways. And now it's fucked up, and it's not very morally cool, and it's sad to know that people are going to be suffering while still trying to help the rebellion. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, we don't get to where, well, it's all going to be for naught because the First Order is going to come back, and who cares?
Yeah,
But
this is this is what gets so frustrating to me, by the way,
yeah,
and I won't go off on too much of a tangent, but it's like all of this went into bringing down the empire, and then like 9 years later or whatever, we get this like fake empire.
it's almost
It just
like if
drives
we
me
elect
crazy. It drives me crazy.
like if it's like almost like if we elect a Democratic president after like a crazy lunatic president, and then maybe he gets like 4 years, 8 years, and then it all just fucking spirals out of control afterwards. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe that lunatic is going to run again, and then we'll just be back in the shit, and our first order era is coming. Who knows?
God. Yeah, I was thinking the same exact thing, Katie, is that like to what this is understanding is that like it was a very long, long cause. It
Yeah.
involved Obi-Wan Kenobi hiding out for years. It involved like
Involved
lots
Yoda
of
sitting on his ass on Dagobah while real people made sacrifices and he just chilled.
Yoda
Like,
just making swamp tea while everybody
yeah.
else was out doing
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it involved so many people being patient but also working really hard. We'll talk about Mon Mothma in a little bit.
Yeah.
And it involved a lot of people making a lot of sacrifices in order to guarantee something. And it didn't just involve like one kind of horny Jedi couple.
Yeah. Exactly. Who, like, were brother and sister and then oh well at the end, yeah. But yeah, the whole
Oh
thing was a
yeah,
mess.
sorry.
I was like, wait, what? Yeah,
I'm
no.
talking about the dyad. I'm talking about
I just
Kylo Ren
forget
and
that that
Rey
even happened. It
smooching in
just
the
isn't
final.
even real in
That's I
my
mean, it's the same
mind.
universe. That's crazy. Like it's the
Yeah.
same story, same concept.
It's all legends to me.
I
Fan
got so
fiction.
mad in the theater. Like, so Star Wars has always been my birthday present to myself because
Oh.
it always comes out like around my birthday. I think one of the films came out on my birthday, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was even
Ooh.
episode 7, which is December 19th. If anyone wants to get me a gift, you have
I'll mark it
17
down.
days. But actually, I don't. And I remember that I was so excited for episode 9. I liked episode 8 a lot. And then I watched it. I was like, this is the worst birthday ever. Like, this
Yeah.
sucks so much ass. Oh my God. I was furious.
It like not to go again, not to go too far off on a tangent or a rant here, but like I remember watching the trailer and then hearing like Palpatine laugh and then seeing the Death Star underwater and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. Like maybe this will be cool. Like who knows? Maybe they'll tie it back and we'll find out like more about how the First Order became a thing and like something will be cool." No, none of it was cool. It was all garbage. It was complete hot garbage from the first second of the movie where Kylo Ren is on Mustafar chopping people down and it's just like, "Whoa, what everything is moving at 1,000 miles per hour. This is like a really crazy movie." Oh, and the movie kicked off in Fortnite a week ago before the movie even hit theaters. Ah, what
Fortnite.
a time.
Um,
But
yeah.
we have this to celebrate.
Well, I think that's the big, I really loved also this character because, can I tell you when he started the season, I'm talking about the ISB guy who was sort of betraying the ISB. When he started the season and I saw Dedra Miro, I thought she was going to be some sort of rebel or secret
Yes.
rebellion. And then, you and I had talked about last time that I thought this guy was maybe going to take over her job, that,
Yep.
the leader of the ISB said, watch her back, which I wish we saw a little bit more of. I wish some people were a little more cutthroat in the ISB, and we got that. But
Yep.
I did not expect this. I didn't expect it.
No. No, I didn't. This was really surprising to me, actually. And it was exciting to see it. And yeah, Deirdre's just a uber fascist, just like an uber fascist who like just has like a complex of wanting to be the most successful fascist that's ever fascisted. So it's like, this guy being her assistant, finding out all this information, and then finding out that he was part of the rebellion all along was really incredible. But his also like, yeah, he's in a lot of danger. He's like in the belly of the beast. But hearing him talk to Luthen about like, well, I just had a kid and like, my wife, so like I'm making a lot of sacrifices here. And then Luthen's like, oh, you think you're making fucking sacrifices? Let's talk about that. Because he's like, what are you sacrificing? Like it's just easy for Luthen. And we get just this badass speech from him at the end of the episode, and it was just like just a perfect point
Yeah.
to end us off.
Yeah, and there's also a sentiment I think that Luthen maybe didn't touch on so much that I think does exist in these moments, which is like you can quit being a rebel, but like if you leave the ISB, they're gonna think something's up. Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
really get out. That's
No.
actually something that I think gets echoed a lot in like mob shows, right? That you can never
Mm-hmm.
get out. There's um, spoilers for The Sopranos. I don't know, but there are a couple characters who want to escape mob life, who want to sort of make it out of being in the mafia, and they can't, and they like
Yeah.
take another option out because there's no escaping this sort of life of crime that you've built for yourself. And I think this really felt reminiscent of that, where you can try to leave, but like if you leave the rebellion, well, the rebellion's going to come after you, but then the ISB is going to be like, why the fuck are you leaving? And you have nowhere to go, so you might as well stay. And it's
Yeah.
depressing, but if you want to be around for your kid, you might as well just not get killed.
Yeah, totally. And you have to think about the type of people who would sign up to be part of the empire, right? Like we're not at the stage yet that we are in the sequels where they're like kidnapping babies. We see in the Bad Batch, if you've watched it, if anybody's watched it, I know not that many people were into it, but we do see people start enlisting to be stormtroopers and to be like in this new phase once they start phasing the clones out, and to be part of these like special forces units because they're like they pay for my school or they pay for whatever, they give me health care. It's like the same literal same thing that happens in real life for people in the United States who join the army, it's or the military in some way. And it's kind of the same. It's like you join it because you think you're going to get these benefits, and then it's like, oh, I'm in some real shit. Like I'm murdering people just because they live in a different country than me, and that's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm having never-ending PTSD, and I'm in danger, but like I can't leave just because I wanted to get my school paid for, and they preyed on me. It's like it's kind of the same thing. I mean, like it's not really the mob, but it's like, it's almost the same type of concept. And I want to know what their like recruitment tactics are like. Like I hope we get to see more of that
Do you
down
think
the
they're like
line.
setting up like tables in the subway and at like high schools to be
Right.
like
Like where,
join the rebel join the empire or whatever it is,
right. Or it's like you see those people at Mon Mothma's house, at a few episodes before when we talked about it, where they're like, well, Palpatine just wants to keep us safe, and there's a lot of crime and things are happening. Look what happened at Aldani. Like we need, yeah, I don't agree with his tactics, but we need him. And it's like this is some real shit. This is like parallels to real shit in life. It's like I don't know. It's wild. It's wild to me, and it's like this is the fear mongering that my grandmother is saying to me at Thanksgiving about like don't go in the city, there's crime. And I'm like, okay, like we gotta take it down a notch here.
Yeah. I wonder what the empire recruitment tactic. Are they like making like Twitch ads to get like the rich Chandrillian and
Mm-hmm.
uh what's the fucking planet that's a city? Coruscant kids to
Yep,
like maybe
yep.
want to apply.
I mean, Mon's daughter, she's like first in line.
Yeah.
She's like a little fascist in the making.
Oh yeah, she and her weird little old school ways. I kind of love it though. I not to jump too far ahead, but I
No, we
kind
can
of
jump
love that
wherever.
Mon Mothma is like, oh my god, I will never marry my daughter off. That's terrible. That's horrible. And then her daughter's like a little conservative, and she's like, all right, fuck it. You want this? Go ahead. Like
Yeah,
this works out for everyone. Take it.
exactly. Exactly. Naomi, I didn't watch Sopranos, but Josh has a very important question of
Who's
who
the
is the
Adriana
Adriana
of
of
Andor?
Andor? So
So
this question has to go to you.
yeah, so Adriana, oh god, slight spoilers for, I'm not going to spoil the Sopranos too much, but like Adriana essentially becomes an informant for the FBI.
Mm.
And she can't get out. Maybe it's General Hux. I think that's so funny. If it was like Hux, because Hux turns out to be the spy. But realistically, it has to be like a kind of tragic figurehead of Star Wars. I don't know. Me just cycling through all the female characters in Star Wars and coming up with like nobody because how many are there? I'm gonna say General Hux just to be funny.
Yeah, okay. I like that. I like that.
Who's the
So
Tony Soprano of Andor? That's who we should be asking though. Is that Kino?
Luthen?
No, Luthen. Luthen's the Tony Soprano. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, probably right. So I guess like we could talk about Mon in general. I think her storyline isn't really specific to each episode necessarily, but it's kind of fluid throughout the last three. So maybe we can just talk about where she's at and what's up with her
Yeah,
and her
let's
fascist
get
little daughter
her.
and her money. So she has this guy, Ty, who's her friend from back in the day on Chandrilla, I think is how you pronounce it. And she's trying to work with him, as we know, to fix the funds that she's missing from her account. She needs something in there. The Empire's looking into everybody's accounts. And I think it's like 400,000 credits or something.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot.
his solution, yeah, it's a lot. It's not nothing. And his solution is to hook her up with this guy who seems to be like a crime boss or some kind of like mobs. Maybe this is the Tony Soprano.
Davo, right?
Yes.
I still think it's Luthen, but this guy, this guy is like maybe he's like the uh Johnny Sack of of this side, which is the other side of this. That's the New York Mafia. Tony Soprano's
Okay.
the New Jersey Mafia. Johnny Sack's the New York Mafia.
Okay. Okay. I have to watch The Sopranos. I have a
Sopranos
long
is
flight coming
so
up.
good. Sopranos gets mislabeled as a show that's about the mob and violence, but it's really about a guy. The way David Chase tells it is that it's a story about how fucked up the world is that a mafia man feels he needs to go to therapy,
That's pretty
and
great.
great stuff. I will say that I think that the Mon Mothma storyline is very interesting, and it's in small enough doses where I never felt like we were getting too much of it and losing the other side of the story. But I do think it's also very essential to show how paranoid Mon Mothma is. She's so
Oh,
scared
yeah.
of what's going on with her, and she's scared of her husband, she's scared of her daughter, she's scared of everybody she
Well,
meets.
she's surrounded by people she can't trust. She knows
Exactly.
the driver, and we see in the last episode, and I loved this in the last episode, is when she's like, privacy, please. And she knows that this asshole driver is listening to her, and she sets her husband up so good. And she like fixes her story for them to have like a backstory around why this money is missing, and is like, you're gambling again. And I was like, this is incredible that she was so smart to like do that in a way that she knew was being overheard. And he's like, what? No way. And also to like use that as a way to marry her daughter off to this guy, which is basically all that this guy wanted, was like, oh, just an introduction to my son. I'll bring my son with me. And I'm curious to see where this goes moving forward. Where do you think is the storyline with Mon's daughter and the son of, wasn't it Davo?
Yes, Davos Son. I think it's a great attempt at involving her own personal losses in the story, right?
Yeah.
Because she, for the most part, has just been able to sort of like have a secret political activist life, and it doesn't really affect her too much. She's just, stressed out. Maybe her cousin's doing it a little bit more than she is, but for her sister, for the most part, it's chill. Is it her cousin?
Yep.
Cousin.
I think it's her cousin.
Cousin.
I think it's her
But
cousin.
the other side of this now when her daughter's incorporated, is now her daughter's in danger. Now she's worried for her daughter. Now she's really utilizing everything she has as a political bargaining chip, and I think she's realizing, the same thing that Luthen is kind of coming to, which is like, what is one life for the entire galaxy? What is the ability to lose one person but save an entire system of people? And she also knows, I think we can all see that like the Senate is not effective, doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yep.
So is this the best method to go? I also love that she threw her shitty ass husband under the bus. Get under
Oh,
that bus. Get under that
amazing.
flying bus.
That to me it was just like such a perfectly calculated move. Like, because we know, I mean, episodes before she was like, we're being listened, even my driver's spying on me. Like, we can't. And it's like, as soon as she says privacy, please. And even he's like, he can't hear us. And I'm just like, this is incredible. Like, just such a smart setup for her to be like, you're gambling again. And just have a backstory. And then we see that guy who was Deidre's rival, whose name is forgetting me. His name starts with a B, right? Talking later on and is like, well, keep monitoring them. Oh, I guess this is why her money's missing, because he's gambling again. Well, keep an eye on it. And they bought it. They totally bought it.
Yeah. Again, it echoes back to what Cassian was saying, where it's like, they don't really care what happens. They're not listening. They are listening, but they're not actually listening.
Yeah. They
They're
hear
just
you,
listening for
but
what they
they're
wanna
not
hear.
listening. Yep.
Oh, what was the other? Oh, okay. Here's something I wanted to sidebar about for a second, because
Yeah.
it's kind of about Luthen's storyline. But when they're talking about Anton Krieger or whatever, and they're like, okay, well, he's going to die tomorrow. How are there time zones in Star Wars?
Oh, that's a great
How
question.
is one planet's time? How is one planet's tomorrow another planet's tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like,
That's a great question. I'm going to Google it because I bet there's an answer.
to me, there's no logical way there can be time zones in Star Wars. I just thought I thought about it when he was like, yeah, he'll be dead by tomorrow. You have like 12 hours or something, or he gives him like a time frame.
There's Galactic Standard Time. I knew there would be an answer. I knew. Galactic Standard Time, it's based upon Coruscanti time. And on Coruscant, there's 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. And its orbital period is 365 days.
Oh,
its
wow,
rotation
look at
period,
that.
24 hours. What a coincidence.
Coincidence.
What a
But, like,
coincidence.
you could be like days ahead of Coruscant time, you know?
I
The,
guess.
that's how planets work.
Yeah, I get. I mean, I don't know. Galactic Standard Time.
Sorry, it just occurred there was like that whole line where Luthen was talking to Forrest Whitaker, to Saw Gerrera, and was
Hmm.
saying like, "You've got like a couple hours or whatever." And I was like, "How do you
Yeah.
have hours?
Yeah.
It's
Do you
space."
even have a concept of what an hour is? I guess they do.
Uh,
Same concept that we
I
do,
love Star Wars. Yeah.
interestingly enough. Yeah, it's the best. Galactic Standard Time. Good to know. GST.
There we go.
So we end Mon's story seeing the intro of her shitty little daughter to the son. She seems to kind of like him, right? I mean, they seem like
Yeah,
they don't,
they
we don't
seem
really get a
fine.
lot, but they
They
seem like,
seem like a cute 14-year-old arranged marriage couple, I guess.
yeah, who knows where that's going to go. But there was one scene when she was talking to Vel and her daughter came in and she's like, oh, and then I guess Mon says hi to her or something like that. And she just shoots her such like a nasty little look that I'm like, yeah, fucking arranged marriage, this little bitch. Get her out of here. Get her out of here. She sucks. She's going to be your downfall if you don't. Or if you do, maybe.
I just love that she, you know what? My daughter sucks anyway. Get her out of here.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not really going to lose
The
much.
scene of them at the
Take her.
table though was so creepy, where they're reciting their little prayers. I was like, oh
Yeah.
god, I would marry her off too. This is weird.
Yeah, and it almost feels like, I mean, I don't know exactly what that little group was, if it's like a school. They may have explained it, I might have missed it, but that felt like very Empire-esque, like ingraining some views in her that Mon probably was not aligned with.
That felt like
A little too close to comfort in her own
yeah,
home, you
that's what
know.
I imagine CCD is like or something. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't even go to Hebrew school. I didn't have a bat mitzvah, but like I imagine that's what like religious school is like. So
Yeah, I
that's
never
my
went to
vision of
religious
it.
school either.
Yeah. Who knows?
Seth does say, "Get under the bus, you Ted Cruz doppelganger husband." Have you seen the comparisons or heard comparisons to Mon's husband looking like Ted Cruz?
I'm gonna Google that right now. Let me look that up.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't
All
see it
right.
until I saw it. You know?
Ted Cruz, Mon Mothma, husband. Oh yeah. Whoa, he really does look like Ted Cruz.
Yeah, yeah,
Wait.
yeah. There's one specific photo of him where he's like looking in a specific angle, and he looks just like Ted Cruz.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see it.
Rough go
Wow.
for this guy.
Poor guy. Sorry to this actor.
Sorry, Perrin.
That's funny.
Perrin Cruz. Anything else to round out the Mon Mothma storyline? I love it. I'm excited that we got this. I didn't think that I would ever care so much about Mon Mothma, but I really do. She's an incredible character.
Yeah, great character. I think just emphasizing that the Senate sucks and doesn't do anything is like a great
Yeah.
element of Star Wars these days.
Yeah, and I love seeing Coruscant in general. That was always something that I had asked more for in Star Wars. Like let's get less Outer Rim planets and more Coruscant, and Coruscant after episode 3 and after Order 66. Like, what does that look like? And I'm glad we're getting more of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's talk post prison break. We see Cassian and Melshi escaping. They made it, and they're also wondering like how many other people made it out of the prison. They have no idea. Like everybody separated. They have no idea. These two stuck together. They ended up on like a fishing mountain and they were trying to steal a ship, and they got caught by the fish alien people in a very gross mucusy net. I don't know if you noticed how like wet
Oh,
and
I
sticky
know. I
that thing looked.
hated
It
it.
was and thick. It was like thick mucus. It was gross.
Oh my god! But I love this. This is like the little story building details of Star Wars that always makes me laugh.
Yeah, I loved it. And they kind of connected with each other on hating the Empire. Like, and they dropped Cassian off where they wanted to go, back to Space Miami, Space Boca Raton.
Take me to Space Miami.
Yeah, which was nice. I mean, like they were literally ready to steal these fish people's ship, and instead, like they band together with a mutual hatred for the Empire, which I liked.
Yeah, great tense scene. I love the tension of I also like the details that they throw in of like the Empire has ruined our fishing supply, has ruined our
Yep.
water,
Yep.
and again, it just we talked a lot about ecofascism in the series and environmental destruction, and I think it is reemphasizing that point without making it a huge deal, which is that the Empire not only causes chaos in people's lives but in their environments as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Another thing that hits close to home.
Brutal.
for us in real life. Yeah. So they end up back on Space Miami, which honestly I don't know the name of this planet, but it's like the vacation planet that Cassian was arrested on. And he goes into his hotel room and he gets his manifesto that he left up on the top shelf. It's still there. And I read a few things on Reddit of people being like, anyone who's asking questions about like how this could still be there. I work in a hotel, and like if you just hide something in a hotel room, like chances are it would still be there. They just, their housekeeping probably
Yeah, that
wasn't
was
up to
like
snuff.
he hid it in the ceiling, like he hid it above a
Right.
lamp. Like, yeah,
Right.
sure.
Right. And then they kind of say their goodbyes, but before that, they hear, and I guess this is the most important part that I didn't touch on yet, is that Marva has passed. Marva has passed on. And B2 Emo, the opening of this episode with B2 with the cup on top of his head and like making it seem like he's crying was so the way that they can make you feel for like a droid that doesn't it's just like
Bro,
what a star B2 Emo has become.
I'm such a sucker for droids. It's not even
Me too.
funny.
Except
Like
C3PO. I hate
I
C3PO.
can't. There better not be a robot uprising, because if the robot's cute, I'm gonna have a real hard time. You know what I mean? Like, they're so adorable. I loved Is it like D O, the little wheelie guy
Oh,
from
he's so
episode
cute. He's the best
9,
part. Him and what's his face are the best part of
Babu
this.
Frick?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, did I ever tell you the unlocking Babu Frick story on Star Wars, Lego Star Wars?
Yes, it does sound familiar to me, but you can tell it again.
Oh, that I was unlocking. My boyfriend was like, "Come to the SNL after party," and I was like, "No, I have to unlock Babu Frick in Lego Star Wars." And then I did it, and then I came.
Oh, you got both. Best
Yeah,
of both.
exactly. Two birds, one stone.
Yeah.
No, I love B2EMO. I think it's a great. It almost reminds me a little Wally, right? A little sort of like
Yes.
little robot that could. And I think he's got such a fun personality, and he's also, in contrast to I think a lot of droids that we've seen like BB-8 or R2D2, where they're really like very central to the action, very central to being like a hero in situations. B2EMO is just kind of like sad and scared, and he doesn't really help anyway, but he's just there, and you love him.
Oh, love him so much. Love him so much. I
He's
ordered
just
like they have
charging.
a pop doll or whatever those things are called.
Yeah.
Which I don't collect, those are not my thing, but they have one of him and that's like the only merchandise I feel like I've seen of him. So I ordered it online, but it's coming from Australia, so it's gonna ship in like 100 years probably. But I can't wait to get it. I love him so much. I need
Yeah.
like my own like plug-in one that will speak to me. It's so sweet. That's like the one merchandising opportunity I feel like they have here from Andor, which is also why I love Andor so much. It's like not just like a horse for merchandise, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So anyway, Marva has passed, very sadly, off screen. So there were a lot of theories that Marva was not dead. And I have it in writing on a Discord that my theory was that the sisters of Ferrix the daughters of Ferrix were working with Marva prior to and were going to stage some kind of rebellious act, which did kind of happen, but it's hard to say how planned it was exactly other than the Marva hologram. Like, was the violence planned? I don't really know, but we can talk about that when we get there. But before Cassian decides where he's going to go next, he calls home. Everybody's looking for him. Everybody knows, well, Marva's dead. Cassian's going to come back. Like, it's obvious he's going to come back. They want to have a funeral. Let's use it as bait, whatever. But he didn't know. No one knew where he was. No one could reach him. He was in jail for an undisclosed amount of time. We really don't know. And he ends up getting in touch with folks on Ferrix, and he finds out that that Marva passed, and he finds out that the funeral is going to be when it is, and he ends up going back. But I love the juxtaposition of this. He doesn't tell Melshi, but he's standing on the beach, and he just has like the sun behind him, and it's just so emotional. And then when you think back to the last scene of Rogue One, where he's on the beach, not the last scene, but the last scene that he's in, that to me was like a beautiful juxtaposition or comparison.
Yeah, they've been through a lot together with this prison break, and we know that they'll get back together soon, but you really don't know what happens to these people that you're in this prison with. You don't know where they come from, and when something like this comes up, you have to let them. I'm sure Melshi understands, like, I got to let you go because you have something you really need to deal with. Now, I think if Melshi knew how much danger Andor would be in if he went back,
Right. Well, I don't even think
don't fucking
Cassian
go.
knows,
No,
like, I don't
no
even think
idea.
Cassian has any clue.
But that's also what makes Cassian such a great character, is that he is cautious, right? He says on the phone, like, don't use names, don't use names. No, guys, I'm Keith Gergo. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he has no idea what kind of danger he's about to get himself into, which I really appreciated. That, like, bro, you're fucked. Like, you're
Totally.
you're about to be fucked.
Totally fucked. Not only from the Empire, but also at that time, Luthen and his crew were looking. It's like
Exactly.
everybody wanted to kill him. I love that Melshi was like, nobody knows what's going on at this. Like, we have to tell people what's going on. We have to spread the word. We have to tell people. And it feels like this is how rebellions really are born, right? It's like people get out, or people who get a smidge of information. You have to share the information to make everybody aware. Everybody can go on in their lives being completely unaware of like these atrocities that are taking place, but like we saw it, we know this happened, we have to tell people. So I loved that he put that emphasis on that. So they split up to spread the word to as many people as they could. And I can't wait to see how they come back together.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it, because I bet it'll be a big part of season 2.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm into it. I'm ready for it. On the other hand, I was really ready for what was going to happen on Ferrix. I felt like episode 11 was like a little slow, a little bit.
Yeah, more of a setup episode.
Yeah, but I also actually, sort of my big complaint is like, I just wanted to know a little bit more about the Daughters of Ferrix, because
Me too.
they seem like a really interesting group. They kept saying, well, Marva was like their leader for a while. Okay, what did they do? What
Right.
what are the girlies up to? What are the Daughters of Ferrix doing? What do they stand for? Are they sort of in relation to like someone like Nemec? Do they have a lot of the same values? Because I had a feeling that, I had a feeling. Obviously, Marva's funeral was going to be the big setting off point,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, do the Daughters of Ferrix know this? Is it something that they're looking to incite? Are they looking to incite a riot? Do they know what the message that Marva leaves? I just wish we had a little bit more information about them, because they do seem like a really cool group. Again, another sort of like militant faction of rebellion that I would like to know more about, that I feel like we just got a little bit undersold.
Yeah, I would have liked to know more too. I completely agree with you. It just felt like and I don't remember the name of the friend of Cassian who ended up taking care of everything for Marva once Bix was missing. And it starts with a B, I think. Let me just
Yeah,
check
the
really
the big
quickly.
guy, because I asked my boyfriend
Yes.
before we recorded. I said, what was your favorite, what any thoughts on the episode? And he said, I just like the big guy.
I like the big guy. His name is
It's like Besso or something.
something like that. Yeah.
Bosco. No, it's
Bosco.
not Bosco. Of course it's not Bosco. Let's see. I'm just not we're all
I'm
just
looking at a recap and like
we're
it
literally all
doesn't
scrolling through reviews, just
say his
trying to
name.
find these guys.
How could this whole recap not say his name? He was like the biggest baddest of the whole. That's wild.
I'm gonna keep looking. I know, this is like so frustrating.
Great podcasting that we're doing right now. We're just Googling on the, but it's fine. It's important. It's important. I'm just Googling Andor cast and we'll get it from there. His name is
Dun, 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 dun.
Brasso.
Brasso. Okay, I was
Brasso.
kind of close.
Yeah.
Close.
Bosco. George
Brasso.
Costanza's
That sounds like
pin
a
code.
TV cop though.
It does sound like a TV cop.
Tune into Brasso.
Brasso turns out to be a really good friend to
Great friend.
Cassian and Marva and B2 and everyone basically. And I'm really glad about that because we really got like a very early intro to him and then he kind of like popped in here and there, but we didn't really know like the vibe, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Um so where were we before our Google hole?
We were talking about Marva dying.
Oh yeah. Did you think that Marva faked her death? That was a very popular theory. At the end of episode 11, did you think so? I did not think so.
No way. I don't think she had enough, like, in her, you know?
No. I mean, it was very clear that she was ill and not taking care of herself the way that she probably should have. And it was very clear that she was hunting around looking for the tunnels and things underneath Ferrix that, you know, trying to plant seeds and figure out how they could do a rebellious strike. So my headcanon is that she knew she was dying. She let herself die. She filmed that hologram recording and worked with the Daughters of Ferrix to do something for the rebellion, whether or not it's helping that kid make a bomb, which I don't think anybody knew was going to happen, or whether it was, just hoping that that recording set something off. I don't think she would have had any way to know that her funeral would have been such an event for the Empire, though. That's the only
Yeah.
thing.
I don't think anybody really had an understanding of like how they know the Empire is looking at them
Yes.
in a way, but I don't think that they thought that it could be a spark of anything.
Right.
We'll get to it in a little bit, but I didn't think they expected a kid with a pipe bomb to show up to the funeral.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
Wasn't in the planning.
No. And that kid is the kid whose dad was killed.
Yes.
The shop owner. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the shop
Who had the
owner who
phone.
was killed for sort of housing Andor and was like Bix was tortured,
Yeah.
but seemingly tortured to death. And I thought he was a great character, a great side note to show again, like it's exactly what happened to Andor in some ways, right? Is that Clem was killed by the Empire and Andor becomes radicalized, and the same thing has happened to this kid. And
Yep.
it's a cycle of violence that creates people who want to destroy you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we do get a really great scene within this episode of Andor reading the manifesto that was left to him. And just like hearing the voiceover of that speech, like, well, not even the speech, but just like the content of what was in that manifesto was just so. I've had to stop myself from tweeting it out in a series of tweets like multiple times. I just loved it so much.
We love Nemec. And also the voice, like
Yeah, Nemec is the best.
to have him get to do the voiceover, I thought was really great.
Incredible. Shout out to Nemec. Rest in peace. Poor kid. But yeah, I'm glad that they included that. I thought that was really great. And I loved that, Cassian just like didn't really care that much about it before. And now he's seen so much. And, he was just trying to get paid and do a job and get off Ferrix when people were coming for him. So that was an easy way out. And now it's like, oh, he actually, all of the stuff that led up to this radicalized him enough where now he's reading this manifesto and it's like, okay, it's all resonating and hitting really home, hitting very close to home for him. And it's enough to kind of just give him the push it seems like that he needs.
Yeah. What did you think of the other question I had, backtracking a little, is the scene between Vel and what's her face from Luthen's
Cinta?
shop?
Oh,
Not Cinta, but
not
his
Cinta.
like shop
Her
owner.
name, yeah. I don't
Who like
remember what her
she almost feels like the brains to Luthen's operation, because she's like, nah, shut it all down. Like
she keeps him kind of grounded.
Exactly. I really like her character, even though I can't remember her fucking name for shit.
Don't
But
worry, it's not the cast
I was
up. I
wondering
will
how you
tell
felt
you.
about the sort of tension that they have there of, they're the leaders of the rebellion, but at the same time, like, they can't talk to each other and they're very limited in how they interact, especially because they're getting traced by the Empire at this point.
Yeah, I thought that scene was great. And I thought that it was great that she was so like, you're just one of many people like banging on my door for something. Like, you think that this is the biggest problem in the world. Like, this is just one of many. But Vel did have good information. Like, Andor's mom died, just so you know. Like, that's all I wanted to tell you. Like,
Bitch,
get
I
him
got
the
news
message.
for you.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was a really good scene. I really like her. Again, also don't remember her name, unfortunately. But there's a lot of names, okay? There's a lot of names. Especially Star Wars names. They're tough to remember sometimes. But she's a badass. She's a badass. I'm excited to see more of her next season. She really does feel like she's the brains and like the one who's very grounded in reality, where Luthen maybe thinks a little bigger sometimes or takes risks. She kind of keeps him in control.
Yeah, and, it's funny because I like that Luthen is always taking these risks, but he's like, "No, we gotta kill Andor." Like,
Right, like he's a loose
this
end.
is super important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think all of the shop stuff is great. Have you seen any of the Easter eggs of some of the stuff that's in Luthen's shop? It's pretty interesting.
I had seen some of it. I haven't. I wonder if they've expanded the list since I think we first saw the shop and I saw some of the details. Honestly, I feel like until we get like I want him to be like, oh, this is like an actual Padme Amidala original. This is like one of
Yeah.
her couture designs. I think that'd be really funny.
That would be really funny. They did have an Amidala headpiece that's identical to the one that Padme wore, but I don't think it's confirmed that it's hers, but they have a Jedi Temple guard mask in there, which was first seen in Rebels. They had Luthen has holocrons, Sith and Jedi holocrons in the back. It's like really super
Doesn't he have
interesting
like
some of the stuff that he
does he have
has.
like a Gungan like
He has a
shield or
Gungan shield,
something?
yeah.
That was funny.
Mandalorian Beskar armor. There's some Wookiee stuff that he has. There's a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff. Like very cool set design that they decided to like put all these Easter eggs in there.
I started. I have this problem where because I play like the Lego Star Wars game so much that when I'm looking at
You
a
just want to break
scene
it.
that they make, it looks like Lego Star Wars to me. And sometimes
Oh.
like those shops, they have a ton of them in Lego Star Wars. But also when the Empire was getting attacked, or like when the guys in the prison were getting attacked, they'd be like these little side like containers, and I'd be like, blow that up, it's got stuff in it. My brain won't shut up.
You just want to smash everything in Luthen's shop, essentially.
It'll break apart. You can get coins out of it. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Yeah, why are you leaving it there?
I also wanted to say very quickly that the set
Yes.
design of I can't remember when the it happens like a couple weeks ago, right? The Dedra and Cyril like interrogation scene, but
Mm-hmm.
I still am really in love with the way that they create like Empire offices,
Yeah.
and I feel that what they did that was really successful this show is the Empire felt incredibly menacing without feeling like almost too clinical and goofy.
Yep.
It felt very, very strict and uptight. The ISB presence in Ferrix was very intimidating,
Mm-hmm.
with their shields and the weapons that they were using and the weapons they had on hand, as we know that they like start to blow up. I really felt like the Empire was like an actual successful threat this season rather
Yes.
than just like troopers who couldn't shoot a gun right.
Yeah, they felt truly oppressive. Like it felt like they were just this ever-present oppressive body over everybody that you just couldn't escape. To your point where it's like whereas most of the time we just see these like dopey stormtroopers that suck. Where this it's just like you really see how ingrained they are into society in like every area, whether it's the Senate, it's like a corporate office, it's like it's just if it's some what we didn't talk about yet that was at the end of episode 11 that I don't want to not talk about is Luthen's badass ship getting pulled over and then just going
Oh,
nuts on these like, oh yeah, we'll just use the practice. Let's board. Let's use the practice. And he just smoked the shit out of them. That was incredible. That was incredible. He just kept his cool. His ship like just perfect. It was just perfect.
my boyfriend like rewound that scene like three
Oh
times.
yeah, it was
Like
amazing.
I just want to see it again one more time, one more explosion.
Amazing.
The shot that you can see over the guy's shoulder where it's looking out at into space is
Mm-hmm.
so good. I
Yep.
like I can't get over it. I really feel like it felt like you felt the loneliness of space while also feeling the real intimidation power of the Empire and their ships. The team is so fucking good, and you're like, bro, whose idea was it? Just give me two lightsabers on the side to blow up ships. Like who it's almost like who gets to replace Dave Filoni as the genius of the Star Wars community at this point? Because that shit
Seriously.
ruled so fucking hard. I couldn't believe it. I loved it.
And that felt so Star Wars. Like in a show that doesn't always, it feels Star Wars, this show for sure, but it just feels more real in some ways. Like that scene just felt so Star Wars to me of just seeing like the Star Destroyer or whatever ship was behind them and these Empire douchebags being like, well, we'll just board anyway. And Luthen just being like, oh, hold on, just like doing my thing on the ship and then just shooting shrapnel into their thing, breaking their shield, and then just shoot two lightsabers coming out of a ship. Incredible. And they're just like flying right by them in the front. Oh, it was such a badass. I need to watch that again too.
Yeah, one of my kind of complaints about Star Wars is that oftentimes when you have like a big battle scene, it actually feels quite crowded and you don't really feel the
Yes.
stakes because there's just ships blowing up every
Yep.
which way around you. I did really like the scenes in Obi-Wan where they were like fighting ships and all that stuff. I thought that was great. This is, I think, even more interesting because we build it up. We're having the tension, the tension, the tension. And then it reminds you of how powerful Luthen is. Like, Luthen isn't somebody that you can outfox. He's going to outfox you. And it's a scene where, even though we see it happen to the Empire, you can only sit there and think, like, how the fuck is Andor going to get away from him?
Right, right.
Which then I think reinforces that what happens to Andor is that he doesn't get away from him. He has to go further in.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, pretty incredible stuff. But anyway, we can go back to Marva and Ferrix and
Well,
the
I
Empire
mean,
and all that good stuff. But
do we want to talk about the funeral? Is it time? Should we
let's talk
just
about the funeral. Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about it. Bix is in
TikTok
her
funeral
cell, kind of watching from
poor
afar.
Bix.
And Cassian is on the planet. And that guy, again, another guy whose name I don't know, eavesdropped when the guy who spoke to Cassian on the phone told Brasso that Cassian knew. He told him over the phone. And then, of course, he's an informant for the Empire. I was like, no, why are you saying this out loud? Like, what are you doing?
Oh my god, yeah.
What a douchebag that guy is, by the way.
Well, he paid the price, didn't he?
Sure did. And I was like, yeah,
Louis.
fuck you. I was like, yeah, that's what you get, asshole.
Yeah, but that was a guy who, like, Andor owed money, right?
Yes. But I think when he came back with the credits, I think he paid off all of his debts, right?
I think
After
so too.
Aldhani, this guy's just holding a grudge. Maybe he wasn't part of the debt payoff.
Yep.
I think he was. I mean, whatever. But yeah, I mean, rough go for that guy. That's what happens when you align yourselves with fascists, I guess.
Guess so.
Yeah. I guess so.
I mean, I did feel bad, but I also didn't feel that bad. Like, it's one of those things where part of the story is like, do you bet on the Empire? Do you bet on betraying your friends? Or do you bet on, like, working with the rebellion and maybe losing? Who's, like, the big betrayer in the early Star Wars? It's not Lando Calrissian, is it? Does he betray them?
Yeah. In Empire, he does. But because he has to, right? Like, he doesn't really have a choice.
That's what I mean is, like, we see it all the time in Star Wars, and this guy just happened to make the wrong decision and not make it out alive.
Yep. Yeah, pretty rough. But we have the funeral starts a little earlier than expected. They kick it off before it's supposed to, and that catches the Empire very off guard. They're like, what's going on? Shut it down. And they have, what I loved was at the beginning of the episode, I love that the opening music is different every episode. And I loved that it sounded like a brass band. And then it kind of was like, oh, they were just practicing really for the funeral. Like, it was just great. I love that detail. But they start playing the music. They're marching down the streets. Brasso's holding the brick that holds Marva's ashes. B2 is there. And shit just pops off. Empire is like, what the fuck is going on?
I know. And I really thought that it was going to be more intentional, but it just seems like it's like a total cacophony of events. I love the marching band. I love that there's so many people trying to get things to happen, right? We have Cinta and Vel stalking Andor, but then also Cinta stalking the ISB guard. We have Brasso leading the pack with the Daughters of Ferrix. We have the kid with the pipe bomb. We have Dedra has shown up to the planet. Cyril and his friend Mosk are watching. Luthen is watching.
Yep.
Like, every single character is there. It's like the freaking Survivor reunion. Everyone's back.
Yep.
But also at the same time, like, I really felt for Bix this episode. I thought the actress who plays Bix did a great job at. Bix didn't feel crazy. Bix felt like a like a person who had been tortured.
Yeah,
who I felt
just broken.
So terrible for. And whenever we would cut back to her or the scenes that she shared with Diego Luna this episode, I thought were both really phenomenal. And I kind of wish that, it's my hope, I should say, that in season 2 we get to see more of her again, because I don't want her to be forgotten. You know, she's somebody who is essentially been destroyed by the Empire just to get to somebody else. So I hope we see more of her.
Yeah, and I think we will. I assume that we'll see a lot more of the folks that ended up getting away on that ship at the end, including the member of the Daughters of Ferrix, and I hope that gives us more of a background, like we talked about a little earlier, because we know that she's with them, right? So we get this incredible hologram of Marva, who becomes just sort of like larger than life, and B2 is projecting her in the middle of the town on Rick's Road. And she gives this incredible speech. I saw that originally she was supposed to say "fuck the Empire" in the speech, and Star Wars was going to have its first F-bomb, but they changed it to "fight the Empire," which I'm like, no,
Boo.
keep "fuck the Empire." Like, that's what we want. That's what we want.
I want the fuck word in Star Wars, baby.
At least we know. At least we know that that was what it was meant to be. But Disney, I think, did not let them keep it.
It'll be fuck in my heart.
Yeah, it's fucking my heart as well. This is like the radio version of like the explicit song, you know? We
It's
know
like
what the
when
real
Allie and
lyric
AJ would
is.
record it and say, "Get my shit back."
Yeah, yeah. So we have an incredible speech. What did you think about Marva's speech here? Where she kind of was like, we were sleeping for too long, and
I mean, you know, I was very moved by it all because I also think that it's a great idea, right? Like a great set piece that she creates her own hologram, that she gives a speech at her funeral. And I found it very moving, everything she was saying. Let me try and find.
I have a transcript here. I won't read the whole thing, but there's the part where she starts talking about, you know, she's honored to be a daughter of Ferrex, but she says, "I fear for you. I want Ferrex to continue in my waning hours. That's what comforts me the most, but I fear for you. We've been sleeping. We've had each other and Ferrex, our work, our days. We've had each other and they left us alone. We kept the trade lanes open and they left us alone. We took their money and ignored them. We kept their engines churning. And the moment they pulled away, we forgot them because we had each other. We had Ferrex, but we were sleeping. I've been sleeping and I've been turning away from the truth I wanted not to face. There is a wound that won't heal at the center of the galaxy. There's a darkness reaching like rust into everything around us. We let it grow and now it's here. It's here and it's not visiting anymore. It wants to stay. The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. It is never more alive than when we sleep. It's easy for the dead to tell you to fight, and maybe it's true. Maybe fighting is useless. Perhaps it's too late, but I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and I'd be fighting these bastards from the start. Fuck the Empire is what it should say. And that is how I will end the speech from her.
Send tweet. Send tweet. To me, there's something. So Nemec says in his manifesto that these uprisings happen spontaneously without instruction, and I think that that is to say that the rebellion begins when people are pushed to their limit, and I think that Marva was certainly pushed to her limit. And everybody else on Ferrex has been pushed. You know, the Empire like started to strangle them, really get in close and hurt people that they loved, and wouldn't let them have a funeral for somebody who was super important to the society. And you want to fight back, and you know they killed this kid's dad, and I love. I want to on record say I love that he threw a bomb, but I love that that was the plot point. I think that it was important for us to remember that, like, when you are fighting somebody who will just easily kill you or put you in a prison, like, get him. You know, no.
Yeah.
Who has anyone ever watched Star Wars and felt bad until we realized that Finn was a real person, that the troopers were dying? You know, like,
right.
Down goes the
Even
troopers.
then,
down, take down the clones.
Really care that much. No shade to Finn. Finn was robbed. Finn should have been the main character of
Finn
the whole.
was robbed.
Yeah, Finn was robbed, but like, unfortunately, I didn't care that much about him as they wrote him. But he should have had better. I'll go on record saying that. But yeah, it's funny to think about. You know, we root for these characters, and they're literal terrorists. Like, these are literal acts of terrorism, and we're like, yeah, fuck yeah. Which, like, when you think about it, that's pretty rough. But it's like, contextually, of course, these are the good guys and the Empire is the bad guy. But like, really, it's just very gray in a lot of areas, which is pretty interesting to me to think about.
You know what?
But I agree. When that guy threw that bomb, I was like, hell yeah.
You know, my favorite part of the whole episode was when he kicked the freaking stormtrooper off the tower. That was the funniest fucking part of the whole episode, the whole season.
So good, because he has these hammers, right? He could like hit him with that. Nope, kicked him right off. Oh my god, incredible!
That was really fucking
just
funny.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, the violence that ensues from here, because they pushed B2 over, and that really is what started it all. And I'm like, yeah, avenge him. And I thought that they were going to kill B2 here, and I was like, I'm ready to quit this show. They cannot hurt my little droid son. Like, this is horrible. He's so innocent. I mean, and he's okay, thank God. I don't think they would have ever done that to us. I hope,
Yeah.
because that would have been too far, too far. But Brazo hitting those Empire dudes in the face with Marva's funeral brick stone. Oh my God. How
Fuck
incredible.
yeah. Fuck
Incredible.
yeah. Oh my
Incredible.
God. That was
Some of the violence here that we saw go down was like some of the best, maybe not the best, but like some of the most emotional violence I feel like that we've seen in Star Wars. And it was
yeah.
just done so incredibly. And once again, the Empire underestimated their enemy.
Absolutely. I think they also not only underestimated their enemy, but also like got cocky, right? They thought, yeah,
Yep.
let's let them have this funeral. Let's trap them to get Andor. And I
Yep.
don't think it ever occurred to them that they would all rise up, not even just to fight for Andor, but to fight for the idea of rebellion and to loosen the grip that they have on them. The question, well, and that brings up, I think, speaking of people getting cocky, is Dedra getting right
Yep.
in the thick of it and getting her absolute ass beat. What did
Yep.
you think?
I loved seeing her eat shit. And this was such an amazing parallel to the first set of episodes where Cyril and his buddy cop friend came in to try and like get justice against Ferrix and were totally bested. This again, it felt like Deidre was rising star in the ISB. She was going to take over. This was going to be her shining moment, and she failed. She underestimated everybody, and they outsmarted her, or just even like she didn't even think that they could do something on the scale that they did it on. She just was like so arrogant, and her arrogance totally clouded her because she's just climbed these ranks so quickly, and she's like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to be there and like we're going to get him. We're going to get Cassian Andor and it's going to be awesome. Little did they realize that there was actually going to be this uprising and you were going to get caught in the fray. And if it weren't for your stalker boyfriend, you probably would have died very brutally. I would guarantee. She couldn't even get her blaster. I was kind of bummed that Cyril saved her. I would have been happy if she completely ate it, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens to her next season because this is a complete fall from grace here.
Yes, but so the scene with Cyril and Dedra in the shop, I laughed so hard because I was like, if they kiss, it's going to be hilariously not appropriate.
So not appropriate.
But if he kisses her, it's going to be so funny because it's going to be like, what a little creep boy.
I mean, he's a creep. He's like, you're in danger. Like, yeah, he's just such a creep. Ugh, he makes my skin crawl.
I know. I that's what I love about him though. Like I know he's meant to be a terribly icky character, and that's what I think is so funny is that that's exactly what the Empire would produce. The Empire would produce people who are like soulless monsters like Dedra, but they would also produce like soulless fanboy monsters like Cyril. Yeah.
He would be at the Capitol on January 6th, no question. No question.
Cyril would be a Ben Shapiro Patreon supporter, hands down.
For sure, for sure.
And that to me is like what makes this dynamic great is that they do both have the same goals and ideals, but Dedra's kind of like, this guy's a psychopath. He did just save me, but he's still a psychopath. And like I don't think that Dedra would like him romantically, and I don't think that's going to be a plot point going forward. But I am kind of glad that they've both survived to make it to the season 2. Like I want to know what's going to happen with both of them.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see, like, is she going to end up cast away like he was after blowing it on Ferrix from like the corpo cops that he was part of, or is she going to have a worse fate because she's part of a much more prestige organization, or is she going to get just demoted and that other guy that is like her rival, is he going to be put back up in the ranks? Like, I very much can't wait to see what happens. Are they going to join forces? Is he going to continue to just follow her and creep her out? Like, are they both going to be like castaways together and just be, I don't want to say insurgents because almost like the rebels are insurgents, but like, I can't wait to see what's going to happen with those two.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities there, I think.
I'm just excited. Like, I really am. This season didn't need to have a good conclusive finale. It had a lot of great stuff, right? Like, it didn't need to be a neat little wrap up. But you know what? Everyone had a big problem with House of the Dragon, which I actually didn't.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Some people like didn't like that House of the Dragon didn't actually have something really interesting happen in the end. But that's not the point of House of the Dragon. The point of House of the Dragon, the point of Andor, is that we are setting up the next story to come. Yes. I do think Tony Gilroy got a little cocky by being like, "Oh yeah, it's like three 3-episode mini arcs. Like just say it's a TV show, my guy. Just say it's a TV.
Yeah.
It's fine. It
Yeah.
can be a TV show. Don't worry about it. But that's what I'm looking forward to. Is like, where are we going from here? What where are the characters going to end up? And that's the concluding point that we're reaching, and I'm very excited
Yep.
about it.
Yep. I can't wait. Brazos, Bix. Well, what did you think about Andor being able to free Bix so easily? That was the one thing where I was like, this feels like a little too wonky Star Wars for me. But I guess like we haven't
Yeah.
had any wonky Star Wars in this whole series, so I'm okay with it. But I kind of was like, come on, really? How do you find out where she was?
You know what I mean? Like, he just opens the door. He just presses a button and it's open. Like,
And
wouldn't
it's
it be
it's her. Like, what a surprise! Yeah, it's a little weird. It was a little weird.
All right. I did like the scene where they were like, "Oh, he's up there," and then they got up there and he wasn't there anymore.
Yes, that was great. That was great.
Yeah, that was funny. And again, Brasso bricking the hell out of an Empire guy was so fucking good. He's a great character and really like sort of. He's not a hero. He's not even really a rebel. He's just a guy who loves his friends and loves the people that he's around.
And his town and his city and his community.
Yeah. And that's what rebellion's all about, right? Is defending the people that you love so that they have a chance at success in life.
Yeah. And even Marva, when she's saying, I want Varys to continue, that's what comforts me. We've had each other. It's like they really all are such a, even in the first, kind of like uprising at Ferrix when Cyril came with his little troops, like they all had each other's backs. They all started like banging on the stuff and like warning each other. It's like they really did have a really amazing sense of community on Ferrix. And I think, like we keep saying, that either wasn't taken into consideration or it was underestimated or what. And once again, it came back to bite everybody. Yep. But we see him, we see Bix, we see B2, thank God, and the daughter of Ferrix, the main daughter of Ferrix woman, survive and get off on a ship. Cassian Andor does not go with them, which I was kind of surprised by. But he goes to find Luthen at the end of the episode, who's been watching all of this from afar. Why do you think he decided to just leave or let Andor go? Do you think it was because just this uprising was too much and he didn't want to get caught in the fray, didn't want to get noticed, didn't see Cassian?
I actually think it's simply like a safety thing of like, if I go with you, you are in danger. Yeah. If I accompany you to your next location, people are looking for me. And I think he knew at the same time, he finds out kind of that like Luthen and Cinta and Vel are looking for him.
Yeah.
So if you know that everyone's out to kill you, don't go hang out with your friends because then they might be collateral damage.
Why do you think Luthen left instead of continuing to look for Cassian?
I think he knew that Vel and Cinta were sort of looking for him as well. But I also think that to him, he knows that like they're looking for access, right? And I think you can see the ISB around, and it is much more important to him that he doesn't get caught than it is for Andor to get killed. But at the same time, I think Luthen's kind of a guy who's like, I got somebody else will do that part.
Yeah.
Vel and Cinta, I think, is also a really interesting relationship. I'm glad they've both lived this long.
Me too.
But the idea, I'm wondering how you feel, Katie, about the themes that they are sort of expressing, which is like, I'd rather commit my life to the rebellion than be in love and not do anything with it or half-ass my commitment to the rebellion.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's their difference in their feelings toward it. Like I think Cinta obviously does love Vel, probably the same way that Vel loves Cinta, but she's so hyper focused on the task at hand and the mission and does not want a distraction. And she's just such a badass following that ISB guy and then just like stabbing him, which is incredible. I feel like we don't see enough just like casual stabbing in Star Wars. So that was pretty exciting to see. But she's just hyper focused. She's motivated by the cause. And so is Vel, obviously. She wouldn't put herself in such a danger, but she also is clearly very much in love with Cinta. And Cinta's just like, she's even like, you could like act like you're happy to see me or something. And she's just like, I'm fucking busy. I'm busy. I'm laser focused on finding this guy. Which is interesting.
Like she keeps saying it to her too. She's like, girl, like we can hang out later. We can like cuddle and watch TV later. I have shit to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Vel's a little needy. A little
Belt, chill
needy.
out a little bit. Just because you're
Yeah,
rich doesn't mean
just
that you can just, you know.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Um, so Cassian finds Luthen and is pretty much just like, "You came here to kill me," and he's like, "So do it, kill me right now." And Luthen doesn't do it, and he's like, "I want to join you. I want to link up with you. I want to fight. Like bring me with you." And Luthen is just so thrilled. It feels like he's really taken with Cassian. Like he's very intrigued by him. I think he was very intrigued by him in the beginning of the episode. In the beginning of the series, he wanted to meet him
Yeah.
face to face. He was very curious on how he got some of these parts. I think he sees a lot in him in terms of, like his courage and his audacity to even just like go on a ship and steal things just directly right from the Empire's nose. And I can't wait, and I hope that we at least find out about Luthen finding out about Narkina 5 and everything that's been going on. Like I just hope that we at least see his reaction to that, or just like get some inclination that he was filled in by Cassian about what's going on in these prisons. Like I don't want to lose that storyline because I feel like that's so important in, I guess we can call it like the radicalization of Cassian, right?
Yeah. The radical. This show should really be called the like radicalization of Cassie and Andor, like,
Right, right.
or the radicalization of Andor,
Yeah.
because that's really what it's all about. And I hope that people sort of misinterpreted The Boys, the TV show that Amazon's The
Mm-hmm.
Boys, um, and I really hope that people don't misinterpret what Andor is about, which is like the idea that community and togetherness can defeat can be a tool against fascism.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I hope that people don't misinterpret that shit, because that would suck.
I hope so too, or I hope not too. I completely agree. Anything else from these last 3 episodes? I know we kind of sped through, obviously, like the recap part, but the assumption is you watched the episode, so we're just talking.
We're
If you're
just
listening, I
talking.
hope you watched the episodes, and if you haven't, you should because they were amazing.
I'm just gonna watch Rogue One again. I think that's really my take. Is like, I can't wait to watch that movie with an understanding of not only what's going to happen in it, but also knowing these characters a little deeper to see
Yep.
what Tony Gilroy really has in store. Because I have to say, I love what Tony Gilroy has done. I think that I'm really thankful that this was a Star Wars show with a real vision that gave us a lot of interesting planets,
Mm-hmm.
characters, side elements to a show, while also never sort of straying away from the message. And you know, friendship ended with John Favreau. Tony Gilroy is my best friend now, I
Yeah,
guess.
1000%. I'm right there with you. I hope that next season we get to see maybe what happens to Saw and how he ends up the way he ends up in Rogue One versus the way he was in season 1 of Andor. Like what happens to him to impact his health in such a way. I hope we get to see that. Yeah, I'm excited. I think we're going to see probably a lot more action next season. I'm really interested to see if any of our friends from Star Wars Rebels show up in next season because I think that's really going to overlap with the timeline, or if we're going to hear even about like some of the things that are taking place in Rebels, just like in the background, like, oh, is it a rebel insurgent somewhere, like something going on that we'll hear about. That I'm really excited for. I hope that we get some Easter eggs there. I think that would be really
Yeah.
cool. My final question for you, I don't know if you've seen these theories that Luthen is a former Jedi.
I just asked my boyfriend this. I was like, "Do you believe this shit?"
I don't think he is, and I
I don't
don't
think so
want him
either.
to be, but
No.
okay, you don't think so either. Okay. I would
Well,
be upset.
I would also be upset. I think it would ruin the storyline, because also this is the period of time, right, where like the only Jedi that exist are like Obi-Wan and freaking Yoda. And we don't want to talk about Yoda here
No,
on
we
this
don't talk about
podcast.
Yoda.
But I think it would ruin kind of what Obi-Wan was actually fighting for in the Obi-Wan series, which is like, there are so few Jedi out there, and the Jedi are people who are kind of stuck in their way. And I feel like maybe it would be interesting if Luthen was like trained by the Jedi or something, or like he got a little bit of Jedi and then shit went down or something like that. But then he's like a sister, a third sister, but the timeline doesn't work because Alexander Skarsgård is a little too old. Uh,
It's true.
but I think it undermines the character, because I don't think that
Me
the
too.
Jedi. It's actually interesting. I just saw a TikTok from Dave Filoni where he was talking about
Oh,
how
Dave Filoni's making TikToks these days?
well, it was like a TikTok that was like an interview clip.
Oh, okay.
I know. I wish Dave Filoni was making TikToks too, but it was him talking about Duel of the Fates, which for anyone
Yeah.
who this isn't jogging your memory is the fight between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth
Mm-hmm.
Maul.
My God, Darth
And he
Maul.
was saying that it's really the duel of the fate of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I've heard him talk about this
yes, and the
previously.
idea is that Qui-Gon is fighting because he knows that Anakin needs this father figure in his life, um, and that if Anakin Skywalker doesn't get it, that he's not going to be raised properly by the Jedi because the Jedi are out of touch. They're political. They're losing sight of what is actually important when it comes to like raising future Jedi. And so, to me, I think that the Jedi at this point in the storyline are not successful.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are not an inspiration. They are simply like people who got fucking owned. And
Yep.
in some
Big
ways,
time.
I like the idea that Luke Skywalker is the Jedi that brings everything back together. And I don't think we need to have more Jedi characters to like be good. I think human
Hmm.
beings can be good. I think other creatures can be good that aren't Jedi associated.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I don't want the Jedi or the Force or Force users to infiltrate this show in a way that like will exactly what you're saying is undermine like in a way that will undermine what's actually happening here. Because I think we get so used to like, oh, look at this good guy Jedi coming to save the day, and it's like no, the rebellion is built up of real people, and like eventually they meet Luke Skywalker, who's a Jedi. We have in Rebels, we have Kanan, we have Ezra, we have Ahsoka. She's in Rebels as well. Like we do have Force users and people in the background that come together, and I assume we'll also get Cal, what's his name? Cal from Force. I always forget the name of the game, but whatever. Like Jedi, whatever. What is it called? Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh yeah.
He's like, this is all within the same timeline. So like, there are Jedi out there that aren't hiding on Dagobah, just like sitting and chilling, waiting to die and not helping. But there are. It's really the rebellion is made up of real people and their sacrifice, and I feel like that's really what this show has tried to like really drill into us is that it's like these sacrifices that these people are making for the greater good. So just like having some dude, the head of this, it seems like right now, be a Force user would be kind of disappointing to me because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's just like this Force user guy who like has a very high strategic advantage over everybody else because he could just use the Force to get out of a situation. And I wouldn't want to see that. That
No.
would undermine the sacrifice to me.
Yeah. It'll also undermine how smart he is, I think, in some
I
ways.
think so too. I think there's like theories out there that he's Count Dooku's apprentice or something. He was a separatist. We know that. I don't know. Did you watch Tales of the Jedi?
No,
So
I didn't
good.
have time.
It's so good. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it.
Oh, we'll peek into it. But yeah, yeah, if he's a separatist, like, but that's also the other side of things is that like political factions live on from person to person, and so um, there are all these political factions in Star Wars, which I think are very interesting, and I love that Tony Gilroy has decided to explore it more.
Hmm.
And I hope that whatever we do get with Luthen, it's something that's like actually interesting and not just like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a Jedi and I don't
Yeah,
like them.
I would hate it. If he was like, I don't know, a dark side Force user, I might be more inclined to be like, okay, that's interesting. But also like not really because I think we know the dark side is significantly more powerful. So like I just I don't know.
Yep.
I don't want to see it. But there are a lot of theories about like his robe and this like staff that he had that looked like a lightsaber and then his ship had lightsabers on it. It's like those could just be like laser beams.
Mm.
He also had that kyber crystal. I don't know. Who
Yeah,
knows? Whatever.
you can just slap lasers on the side of your ship. Doesn't need to be
Right.
lightsabers.
Right. And I'm with you. I'm with you too. I'm anti that theory. Well, Naomi, anything else that we didn't touch on?
I just think I'm ready for next time. If you're listening and you have Star Wars thoughts, tweet it at us. Let us know what
Yeah,
you think.
please.
Talk to
Please
us about Star
do.
Wars at any time of day.
I think I just mentioned to you before we started recording that I'm going on a trip tomorrow for work and it's a very long, it's like a 14-hour flight or something. What I'm going to do is download all of Andor and Rogue One and try and like power through it if I'm awake on the plane the whole time and just like watch it all in one sitting, not like one sitting, but like a
Yeah.
binge, and then
Wow.
Into Rogue One and just see, and
You're
then maybe do it
crazy. I
again
love
for
it.
season 2. Who knows? We'll
You're
see when
crazy.
season 2
You
comes
take
out.
another 14-hour flight. Just pick somewhere
God,
in
I
the
hope not.
in the world to go to.
I hope not. Not a good flyer, but I'm excited to see what it feels like, or what it, yeah, like how it hits in a binge rather than week over week.
All right.
Anyway, well, Naomi, we've been here for an hour and 40 minutes.
Look at us.
This is
Kind of
it.
short
This is
for
it
us,
for
I would say.
us. I know, yeah. For 3 episodes of season finale, it's not the worst. Where can people find you in the meantime while we are not covering this wonderful show since it's over?
So I have some great stuff coming down the pipeline for
Nice.
silent podcasts. So first of all, if you don't know, now you know that myself, Nicole, and Gia talk about Project Runway and Top Chef. Those shows are coming back eventually, so stay tuned for that. I just talked about not the most recent episode of Survivor, but the most other recent episode of Survivor with Gia and the co-host of Fighting a Genius podcast on Silent Podcast, my co-host Joshua and I. We're going back and watching all of the Genius, going to recap
Amazing.
it, spoiler-free recaps. We are not talking about future episodes. We will only talk about the episodes and what has preceded it. So if you want to watch the Genius for the very first time, you can come on our podcast. You could listen to our podcast. So definitely stay tuned. And we just put out our episode about the finale of the Genius Netherlands. So it was a great time all around. So please. And then follow me on Twitter at Naomi Calhoun.
Amazing. Maybe this will get me to finally watch The Genius and like pay attention.
Have you watched the first couple episodes?
I watched like the first 1 or 2, but I was just not in the right mindset to like fully pay attention and like read subtitles and like fully immerse myself.
All right.
I was like
we'll
distracted.
circle back when you after you make a couple.
This will get me in. This will get me in. Maybe that's what I should watch on my flight. Yeah, for me, you can find me. I'm still on Twitter while it's still thriving out there at Real Slim Katie. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv /RealSlimKatie with an underscore at the end. I'm also trying desperately to sign up for every potential Twitter replacement just so I can get my handle without an underscore at the end. I have it on Twitter. I have it on Instagram. I have it on the 2 main ones, but I need to lock it down because you never know what's going to be the next one to strike. So just so you guys know, if there's anything out there that I should be on and get my name, I will do it. Other than that, you can find me on Silent Podcasts as well. I have been not on a hiatus as much, but just not recording as much as usual. A lot of the shows that we've been talking about have ended, but you can listen to all of our Andor coverage here on the High Ground, either on YouTube or on wherever you listen to your podcasts, just by in the Silent Podcast feed. You can also listen to our House of the Dragon recaps with Chanel and Javier throughout the season. If you'd like to go back, if you're doing a watch after the fact, we recorded every week and did recaps of every episode there. And then Carrie and I are still chugging along on TJ Hates Quitters and the Cool Water Show. We've been, Carrie has been traveling. I am about to be traveling. So we had a little bit of a hiatus there, but we did record our most recent TJ Hates Quitters early this week. And we will be back tonight with covering this week's episode and all things missed tonight being Friday, if you're listening later. All things that we have not yet discussed on The Housewives. So you'll get a double header of us later tonight. Other than that, thank you guys so much for listening. Please check out Sound Podcast. Let me pull up our banner and we'll talk about all the places that you can find us and listen to us. If you liked what you heard, or if you would like to follow along live with us and watch us live and drop comments in the chat, we love when people interact with us. Check us out live on Twitch. You can search Silent Podcast there and follow along and comment there. You can find us on YouTube by searching Silent Podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter at silent_podcasts if you want to keep up with what we're doing. There's a lot of great content coming out on the Silent Podcast feed, so check us out. You can also listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcasts. So Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, I use Pocket Casts. We're on there. Spotify, if you want to listen there. Wherever. We're really anywhere. So check us out there. Feel free to leave us a rating or a review. We really, truly prefer 5-star reviews because that just helps us get discovered. So if you feel like this was a 4-star, wait until you hear something 5 stars and then rate us in. Other than that, we will be back in our various places, and we can't wait to talk more about Star Wars when there's more Star Wars to talk about. The Mandalorian was just announced that they are coming back March 1st. So Naomi, if you're in... I'm in too. We have a light at the end of the tunnel here of our Star Wars whole, so maybe we'll be back for that. Who knows?
Time to get back. Time to show me the baby.
Yes, and I'm much more critical of the Mandalorian than many other people, so I'm ready to talk about it and shit all over that baby. I'm just kidding. I love Baby Yoda, but I will shit on that show.
Yeah, This isn't a fuck Baby Yoda podcast. This is just a
No,
fuck
it's
Yoda.
not. No, I'm only a fuck Yoda. And also, if you didn't watch Tales of the Jedi, which I know, Naomi, you didn't, Yaddle made an appearance, and I'm also not a fuck Yaddle. I'm very pro
Yaddle,
Yaddle.
Yaddle.
Yeah, very pro Yaddle. Pro Grogu. I think my ranking would be Yaddle, Grogu, and then Yoda wouldn't even make the ranking. But anyway, that's for another time. Talk to you all soon. See you all around, and thank you for listening. Bye, everybody.
Bye.